Alright, so my topic is why hybrids are not the answer, but more directly, the drawbacks of the Toyota Prius outweigh its benefits. Alright, so a Prius is harder than on your wallet than an average 100% like daily gas vehicle that you probably own right now. The cost of a new baseline Prius is approximately $25,000 plus your taxes and fees, of course. When you can purchase instead a Chevy like a Veo, which is pretty much like the same economic vehicle on a much smaller size, which would be about like half the cost at $12,000 plus your fees and taxes. All Priuses on the United States market are produced in Japan. Since the Prius is not a domestically produced vehicle, the cost of the shipping is allocated toward the inflation of the cost, so you will actually see that cost in the when you pay for it, basically. Also, with the shipping of these vehicles overseas is not so eco-friendly as they like to portray and associate with their vehicle. And yeah, so Toyota used to market their vehicle with an average gas mileage, like MPG, your mileage per gallon, at 55. After a retest by the EPA, or as known as the Environmental Protection Agency, the Prius scored 16% less with how we actually drive, not like these crazy standards where you kind of take off really slow and go an average speed of like 10 or something. Less than, so pretty much it actually came out to be 46 miles per gallon. So it's pretty much like they cheated anybody who tried to buy one and thought it was eco-friendly. So it was false advertisement there. If you still feel inclined to buy a Prius, keep in mind that the vehicle requirements are like you need special mechanics with special training in electrics. The proper way to diagnose and maintain the Prius also requires special tools because the Prius has more electrical components than your average daily gasoline vehicle. Well, I guess it would suck if you get stranded because like an average Joe can't really fix your car. If you are lucky enough to find a mechanic, the replacement parts for this vehicle are not cheap. They are not always stocked because they're pretty expensive, therefore they don't really hold too much in stock. The longevity of the nickel metal hydride battery that is implemented in the vehicle is not so friendly if you do live in a cold climate, because the longevity of the battery is drastically shortened if you do live in a cold climate. New batteries will cost you $2,500 with a minimum labor charge of $1,000. The high voltage converter will cost you about $1,500. With a malfunction in any of these parts on the electrical system, on the hybrid drive system, will render the car useless, and just pretty much all that electrical stuff that's saving you gas is going to be dead weight. And my second claim here is the production of the hybrid system on a Prius creates more pollution than it saves. They call this, the way they make their batteries is the around the world trip. Basically, they mine all the nickel and the nickel metal hydride batteries in Sudbury, northern Ontario, Canada, and is smelted nearby the plant or the actual the quarry. Toyota's annual purchase of these battery, the nickel, is about 1,000 tons of nickel. They pull this all from the earth. This smelted nickel is then shipped to Wales on ships, where it is further refined. Once they finish the nickel, it is sent to China, where it is turned into nickel foam. The nickel foam is then shipped to Japan, where it is implemented in the cars. And once made it to the finished Prius, the car is then sent back to the United States. So you can see that you're pretty much starting from the United States, going all the way around, and then you're back in the United States. So all this fossil fuel that you're using to ship these vehicles is actually not eco-friendly. And they found that near Sudbury, Ontario, that a lot of the livestock and plants have died, and a lot of the landscape has eroded due to all these plants being dying. The erosion is set forth by, of course, dead plants, because the plants, the roots, would hold the soil in. But basically, in conclusion, I'd like to bring the question on how a Prius is more eco-friendly than the production of an average vehicle. It seems like it's more harmful that we would have to transport all these specialized materials to create this eco-friendly vehicle. The mining and the production of the nickel metal hydride batteries has shown to plague the local ecosystem. Let's see, and the purchase of a Prius comes with a large bill, and it shows that the pain to maintain and the pain of actually having to pay for the vehicle when you can actually buy two different cars. The Prius doesn't seem to be so green after all, in my point. That's the end.
Thank you.
All right, Andrew, the opening statement was a little convoluted, and your proposition needs to be simpler and clearer. You've got a lot of issues that are being thrown together, and they need to be structured. I thought that you had a clearer summary and exit on the speech than you had at the beginning of the speech. And in fact, it helped your argument seem a lot more coherent listening to you kind of review. Let me go back and explain what it is I found. Everything made a little bit more sense. Sometimes things end up in strange places. So for instance, you're talking about environmental issues on that first issue on cost. You've got the EPA data, and then you're in another environmental issue in a separate category, but then we're back to the economic costs. I think you need to keep it relatively simple. Here are the economic problems with the Prius. Here are the environmental problems with the Prius. Here's why there's an on-balance problem with the Prius. And if you just keep those points fairly clear, most of your information fits into those kinds of categories, and it'll just be easier to listen to. It just seemed like you were kind of all over the place and sometimes spinning your wheels on those particular points. I didn't really get a lot of source citations. I got the EPA data. There's a lot of claims about all the stuff that happens with the Prius, you know, the round-the-world trip that you talk about in terms of getting the material. I don't doubt that that's true, but I don't know how you know it, and I don't know why I should believe it other than you've said it, and you've said it in a convincing way. It would be nice if we could have some responsibility on this. Later on, there's one point where you say, they found in Ontario that they had these issues. I'm going, who are they, and why should I believe anything they have to say? You need to tell me, where did this information come from? And that was the biggest problem with the speech, is that you've got a lot of ideas here that apply to the argument, but the support is inconsistently cited, and it needs to be organized a lot more effectively. That's the way I would explain my issues on there. On the other hand, like I said, I thought that the summary helps quite a bit, and that you do a good job explaining concepts, like the round-the-world concept. You did a pretty good job explaining what that is. On the mileage issue, you did a pretty good job explaining that. So you're capable of doing that. You just need to structure it so it's clearer for the audience.